Hello, this is Lew White. Someone asked me this morning if I could do a quick video to explain the differences between Sephardic and Ashkenazic. And the topic of Yiddish came up, and that would be actually a dialect that is part of one of those. Ashkenazim, or Ashkenazi, is a reference to basically Eastern Europe, and it refers to a diaspora of Yahudi that were located in this general area. And they speak a Germanic accent, and they have Hebrew speech. However, it is interlaced with German words. So it has become kind of a dialect and a separate language. And the word itself, Yiddish, is a Yiddish word. What does it mean? Well, it means Jewish. So we have Yiddish people speaking Yiddish. Well, they're not really, they're just Yahudim. And they're called Jews by the rest of the world. So that influence brought in this term Jew, and they are really Yahudim. Basically mostly the people from Solomon's area, in southern Israel before the revolt. Let's back up just a little bit. At one time there was a united kingdom. I'm not talking about England. I'm talking about the unification of all the tribes of Israel. The northern tribes lived north of Jerusalem, and there were a number of tribes up there. Generally, they say there are 10 tribes. Reuben and Naphtali, Dan, Ephraim, many of them. And the lead tribe was Ephraim. Anyway, there was a tax revolt after Shlomo or Solomon died, and his son, who would have been David's or Daud's grandson, David's grandson. So we got Solomon has died, David's obviously dead too. So we've got a third generation popping up from David, and it was Rehoboam. And he ruled for a brief period, but there was an entourage that was sent to Rehoboam from the north. The northern tribes wanted to know, hey, are you going to be as tough as your dad? And he said, oh yeah. He'd got his counselors together, and he said, what should I tell them? And they said, oh yeah, tell them that you're going to be like really tough, really, really severe on the taxation deal. So anyway, they took that message back, and they said, okay, that's it. We're going to build another temple. They built another temple up there in rebellion, the 10 tribes. Anyway, for that, the kingdom got split. It was like a civil war. So they separated. The 2 or 3 tribes down below, Binyamin, the Levitical priests, and Yahudim, just sort of separated from them. They said they didn't go anywhere, they just stayed the same. But the northern tribes just refused to go down south. And they didn't worship in Jerusalem anymore. They were called Samaritans, or the Shomoronites. The place they lived was called Shomeron. And anyway, they were separate, and they hated each other, and that's the issue that was going on when Yahusha met the woman at the well up in, Shomeron. And his disciples left him behind, and she says, you Yahudim claim that we have to worship in Jerusalem, but our fathers say we must worship in this mountain, where the fake temple was. And he said, neither in Jerusalem or in this mountain will true worshipers worship the Father. And he was referring to, of course, the diaspora. And the diaspora, the dispersed ones, the ones that were thrown out of the land. And that happened in a couple of periods. That happened to northern Israel first. The Assyrians attacked them and attacked them and attacked them, and finally they were fleeing, during the days of Eliyahu, or they call him Elijah. And there was a drought in the land for 3.5 years, and people were just driven out of the land because the Assyrians were coming at them, and the drought, they were going to starve to death, so they had to leave. They went out into the colonies, by ship. They left the ports and went out there. And of course, I'm pointing in the wrong direction. If you're not a flat earther, that's north, and that would be west. So they fled west, and the land was like, hey, where's the water, And then they were left with these northern rulers, the witch, Jezebel, and Ahab, the weakling. So anyway, Eliyahu took that situation and said, hey, let's get this name straight, and they couldn't. So they argued about it at the mountain over there by the Mediterranean, and they said, hey, let's test him. And of course they built the altar, and of course Yahuwah blew the altar up, basically, with fire, and the stones, the offering, and everything. And the people yelled, Yahuwah, he is Elohim. So there wasn't any more doubt. Anyway, all these little things happened. They were pretty big things, really. People don't get them today, but pastors are not teaching what the reasons are. So anyway, they've got this divided kingdom, and the Assyrians take these people away to the east, and basically the land of Babel, and the kingdom split, and southern Israel is watching all this going, uh-oh, something bad happened to them. And they thought, yeah, well, maybe they deserved it. Well, don't ever do that to somebody. Yahuwah will turn on you. Anyway, down south, they were rolling along in their idolatry for another 135 years or so. And then they get swept away by the Babylonians to, which way did they go? I guess they went that way. They went east, and they were captive for 70 years. Well, the Assyrian captivity that happened before that, they never came back. They were dispersed into the nations, first by ship, and then by land. Over 14,000 people were taken away. And they were skinning them alive. They were doing some bad things. Anyway, that happened. You have to obey his commandments. That's basically the message. But, these things behind me on this rock. So I'm just forming the background for this. And the diaspora consisted of all the people that came back to the land, and then they got kicked out again. And before, they're all dispersed. And the diaspora are the people of Israel, all the tribes that have been dispersed into the world. And their seed sometimes didn't know who they really were. Many of them did, though. They kept control over their lives, and some of them fled to different places. And by the first millennium, as we know time now, around the year 1000 and a little before, there was a Christian and Islamic problem for the Yahudim and the Israelites. So they were being persecuted every time they turned around. They thought they could get rest in one city, they had to move to another one, like the Maimonides did in the 12th century. He had to run around. But he's so famous that he's claimed by Egypt and Spain and Morocco. They all want to claim him, but he was a Spaniard, and he was what we would call a Sephardic Yahudi. A Sephardic Yahudi is one that's from Spain, Andalusia, and that's where he grew up. Now, a Sephardi is someone who has a little bit different dialect, a little bit softer pronunciation and phonology of Hebrew than the Ashkenazic do. The Ashkenazic are actually a Germanic dialect, and they speak a Germanic form of Hebrew called Yiddish. And they're from Eastern Europe, where around Germany and other territories. So you've got Ashkenazi and you've got Sephardic. And one of them speaks Yiddish. And there's still over 1.5 million people that speak Yiddish. All I'm really saying when I say Yiddish is the word Jewish. See, that's what Yiddish means. It means related to the Ashkenazi. And they're mostly Germanic. And the Sephardic people, they don't do that. The differences in these two groups is they were very highly controlled by rabbinic Yehudaism. And the customs are a little bit different. The way that they have their liturgy in well, they call it a synagogue, that's a Greek word. But the assembly, the Koheleth, they have a little bit different liturgy. And their chants are a little bit different, and their speech is different, just a little bit. And they both pretty much write with Aramaic, the script that we brought back from Babylon while we were there, before the Diaspora. But the captivity in Babylon is actually the point when the Diaspora became a more common idea, because when they were carried away, they were dispersed. And they've been carried away more, like during the Roman times. In the year 70, they were again dispersed after Herod had the temple all built and improved and so forth. Well, Nehemiah had rebuilt the temple, and everybody was looking at it and going, ooh, you remember what the first one looked like? Oh, look at that. That's got to hurt. That's not anything like what we had. Anyway, the third temple is standing. It's not a building, though, it's people. The inhabitation of the creator of the universe lives in some of us because we love his commandments. He told us this would happen, but they're going to try to build another temple, a physical temple, and start slaughtering animals again. Animal blood. Uh-oh. Let's not do that. But they want to do it, and they've got some stuff ready. They've got the red heifers popping out, here and there occasionally. The symbol of the red heifer, the ashes, what is it that really cleans us? The spirit of Yahusha, the Ruach, he's the red heifer. He's the high priest. He's the redeemer. He's the creator. He's Yahuwah in the flesh. There's nothing he can't do. And he is in all of this, but they're not awake yet. But we're trying to help them. And we're not going to be critical of them. We're just going to say, look, he's come. And he's coming back. So get ready. So I hope I helped you a little bit with the idea of the words that you're hearing. It's all diaspora stuff. It's not going to last long. We're going to be all speaking Hebrew when he comes back. He'll just, hey, you're going to speak in tongues now. But we won't be speaking in tongues. We're speaking in a babbling lip right now. Somebody loves me. I know some of you don't like that interruption, but I love it. It's somebody that I love. So we covered those things. It's look back, we're looking at the diaspora, and the reason for that was disobedience. And of course the languages, we talked about Yiddish being the language, basically, the dialect of the Eastern European Yahudim, and Sephardic. And I wanted to remind you again, Maimonides, who lived during the 12th century, he was a Sephardic. That's what he called him. So, Sephardic Yehudi. Thanks for watching. And you can also watch this on natsarimlife.com as part of the teaching of the definitions of these words and how they developed. And then also you can watch it on Natsarim Life on YouTube, the channel, Natsarim Life. Thanks, and be sure to join Natsarim Life if you can. Talk to you soon. Bye. One slight addition. I didn't mean to slight any other Hebrews or Israelites or Arabs or anything, because they're all descendants of Eber. Everybody. People in the Pacific Ocean, everywhere. They're Hebrews. Everybody is. I mean, you know, his seed is mixed. I just wanted to make sure that we weren't excluding anyone. We're just talking about a specific term, Sephardic and Ashkenazic. So enjoy, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye.